We begin the day with the next generation of nuclear weapons in North Korea. Now, the U.S. may be threatening to attack Iran over its nuclear program, but that is not the case tonight for North Korea. In fact, Pyongyang says it is preparing to unveil the next stage of its nuclear strategy. Now, this follows the test of what the North calls a new upgraded launcher, which would be capable of carrying out nuclear strikes. This latest plan is set to be revealed at a rare ruling party Congress, the first in 5 years, which is due to be held in the coming weeks. So tonight, what could be in this next stage plan, and what does this latest signal from Pyongyang mean for security in the region and beyond? Well, let's get an overview now of what is known about North Korea's nuclear program. North Korea shares a border with U.S. ally South Korea, and they have a tense relationship, to say the least, there. Another U.S. ally, Japan, is also believed to be within striking distance of North Korea's missiles. North Korea has several nuclear facilities, but the main three are the Nuclear Scientific Research Center in Yongbyon, the nuclear test site at Pyongyang, and a milling facility for uranium at Pyeongsan. North Korea has held 6 confirmed nuclear tests in the past, and it claims to have the capability to mount nuclear warheads on missiles. On Tuesday, North Korea tested its missile capability by firing what Pyongyang said was an upgraded multiple rocket system. Now, according to North Korea's KCNA news agency, the test involved a large caliber multiple rocket launcher. Several missiles, possibly 4, were fired simultaneously. They flew about 358 kilometers, that's 222 miles, where they hit a target. The missiles were fired towards the Sea of Japan. Now, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un attended that test together with his daughter, and according to KCNA, he said, "The result and significance of this test will be a source of excruciating mental agony for Pyongyang's enemies." Excruciating agony. Well, for more on the significance of the announcement about North Korea's plans for its nuclear arsenal, I want to bring in here William Alberque. He is a former NATO official and now a senior fellow with the Pacific Forum. William, it's good to have you back on the program. Before we talk about the specifics here with North Korea, can we just talk for a moment about how different the U.S., the West, are looking at North Korea compared to Iran and its possible nuclear capability?
Right. Well, as you mentioned in the buildup, North Korea has demonstrated nuclear capability. They have conducted nuclear tests, whereas Iran hasn't. Now, both North Korea and Iran have tested missiles that are capable of delivering nuclear weapons. But again, North Korea has them and has been producing them for years now. So they have an arsenal, probably more than 50, less than 100, we're not really sure, but they're ready to go. They have short-range, medium-range, and long-range missiles, and now they're developing new systems to deliver them.
Yeah, and it proves, what we've heard many times. Once you have the bomb, you are certainly treated differently. Let's talk about North Korea and this next stage plan. I mean, what will it likely prioritize? Do you think they're talking about more weapons, better weapons, or readiness to use them?
Well, I don't think anyone doubts that North Korea is ready to use weapons of mass destruction. We know a lot about the nuclear program. We also know they have a chemical program, and we suspect they have a biological weapons program, and we really think they have the will to use them. So I think when he talks about a next stage, I think what Kim Jong-un is previewing is a higher confidence in their ability to target systems with increased accuracy. They're moving from more erratic liquid-fueled missiles that are just less reliable to solid-fueled rockets with much more accuracy. And so I think what we're going to see is more confidence from the North Koreans. So we're going to hear, I think, much more martial rhetoric in this new plan coming out from
North Korea is no longer in a phase where it feels like it has to prove that it has the bomb. It now wants to show that it has the willingness to deploy it.
Sure. Well, and credibility is not just the willingness, but the actual capability as well. And that's why a test today of a missile that went around 350 kilometers with intense accuracy, more ICBMs, more intercontinental ballistic missiles that it's been testing. Last year, it showed off a new, what looks like a nuclear-powered submarine. So we're seeing really, credibility adding to the willingness that we've already seen many times with North Korea using force in the lower-level conflict with South Korea.
Do you think that this could involve a shift towards battlefield or tactical nuclear weapons?
Right. North Korea has prioritized intercontinental ballistic missiles in order to be able to deter the United States and threaten U.S. interests. So the problem is the shorter range nuclear forces. It's harder to prioritize that because in the past, North Korea thought it had conventional superiority. It's losing that edge to South Korea. So we think that they may be shifting, and this latest test on Tuesday may have been to demonstrate a battlefield nuclear capability.
Tactical, yeah.
Correct.
Why are we having this announcement being made now? I mean, do we know what Kim Jong-un is thinking, what kind of calendar he's working on?
Right. So they have the Workers' Party conference next month in February, where they're going to announce the new 5-year defense plan. And we think there might be a new nuclear doctrine statement. But you also have to remember earlier this month, there was the decapitation straight against Venezuela on the 3rd. We had the South Korean-Chinese summit on the 5th. And yesterday, or I think it was Monday, we had the U.S. Undersecretary of Defense, Alberque, visited South Korea and made a big defense speech about how they were going to deter North Korea and stand up against China. So I think all these things, all these events, plus the February Workers' Congress means that they really, really want to emphasize the nuclear development because they really want to trumpet the technical triumphs that they've had and the capability to strike South Korea, Japan, and the United States.
How unusual is it for North Korea to be so open about the next military strategy?
It is relatively unusual because normally they will announce things only afterwards because they haven't had the confidence that it would work. We already think that one of their nuclear tests really didn't go very well. Many of their missile tests over the past 15 years haven't worked. But in 2023, 2024, we've seen far more successes. And so I think Kim Jong-un feels more confident in announcing things before rather than just waiting to afterwards to see how things work out.
That should be sounding the alarm in Washington, but also in Seoul as other Western capitals, right?
Absolutely. And I think the real concern here is actually in 2024, Russia and North Korea signed a treaty that includes an Article 5 NATO-type guarantee that Russia and North Korea will fight together. And you've seen North Korean troops in Ukraine.
That's right.
So does this mean that part of the payback to North Korea is Russian support for North Korean nuclear technology and missile technology, but also North Korea feels emboldened because they have Russia at their back. If a war starts, Russia has said they will defend North Korea. And
how do you expect then the United States to answer this? I mean, the U.S. can't be completely silent with this type of announcement.
Well, I think the Undersecretary's presence in Seoul earlier this week was important. Even during the Biden administration and back during the first Trump administration, there was a strengthened bond between South Korea and the United States. A couple of years ago, they announced a new forum for nuclear coordination between South Korea and the United States. And the United States promised more presence in the area, including nuclear-capable systems like the submarines and the bombers to deter North Korea. So I think South Korea is quite rightly going to look to the United States and see if the second Trump administration is going to continue that commitment. And so we'll see if the Undersecretary had more talks to strengthen their deterrence. But you would have to expect, after the Workers' Congress in February, they're going to have to say something.
Well, after the Workers' Congress, what should we be looking for, watching for, to see whether or not all of this talk about the next phase is real?
It would be really interesting at the Congress to see if Kim Jong-un announces a new nuclear doctrine. Is he going to actually say the conditions under which North Korea might use nuclear weapons? That would be an important statement. The other thing is, are we going to see more conventional nuclear exercises? Are they going to practice using conventional nuclear forces to defeat the US and South Korea? And are we going to see actual deployments in the field where they're going to say, okay, now we're deploying systems, including the system that they tested today, because you would imagine this 350-kilometer range system is going to be intended to destroy South Korean and US forces in the field. So how much will we see publicly?
We have been dealing with the North Korean nuclear threat now for as long as I can remember. But it seems that what we're talking about now this seems to be a completely different caliber of threat. Am I reading that right? I mean, is North Korea now more dangerous than it's been in many years or decades?
I think so. I mean, part it's because on the technology side, they're losing out to South Korea. In part, it's because now they have this alliance with Russia, and they can rightly expect that Russia is going to fill in for a lot of the gaps that they have had in technology. I think the confidence that North Korea has had in its missiles and its nuclear tests means that we're seeing a much more aggressive North Korea backed by Russia. And so I do think this is a completely new character to North Korean threats than we've seen in the past.
Do you think that North Korea is wise to count on Russia having their back? I mean, look at Syria. Look at the leader of Syria. What happened with him? I mean, he's living in exile now somewhere in Russia. I mean, the Russians, when they're coming, they're not usually coming to rescue you.
Counting on the Russians is always a very dicey proposition. I absolutely agree with you. However, Iran, Syria, Venezuela, they all had agreements with Russia, but not a treaty on security. That's fundamentally different. And North Korean troops dying in the battlefield against Ukraine, there's going to be a price for that.
Okay. William, good to have you here on the program and good to get your analysis. Fascinating. And I have a feeling we'll be talking about this again sooner rather than later. Thank you.
Thank you.